Welcome to Dance to Heal. I'm your host, Jenny C. Cohen. Join me as I share stories of how dance and movement can bring healing in a way that is safe and tailored to your life. I'm a cancer survivor, mother of two, and an award-winning performer who found that movement was vital to my recovery. I created Dance to Heal Wellness and also authored the best-selling book, Outside in Recovery, Dancing My Way Back to Myself After Breast Cancer. I will bring new techniques to help you on your dance journey and healing path. Are you ready to move? Dance to Heal starts now. So welcome, Jennifer, to Dance to Heal podcast. I'm so excited you're here.
I'm excited to be here with you. This is going to be so much fun.
Yes, it is. All right, now the bio has gone a little bit into your background. I want to ask some questions like, apologies. Can you hear the dogs barking?
My dogs are trying to get in through the door.
Okay, great. This is life, folks. So I would love for you to tell us the personal experience of this birth of this movement that you believe so much in, how it played into the beginning versus now.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Being a former corporate, I was a banker and insurance underwriter and got really sick, ended up with Crohn's and colitis, had a severe allergic reaction to some antibiotics that propelled me into a world of illness that at a very young age in my early 20s, it was very shocking at the time. I had a great job, just got out of college, and, to have the health struggles with Crohn's and IBS and colitis at that time, 20 plus years ago, it's not as known as it is now. And so I really was put under this umbrella of you're a perfectly healthy sick person. We don't know what to do with you. Your body is failing, your organs are failing. I reached a point where they gave me 6 months to live. They told my mom, there's nothing more we can do. You should plan for hospice and a funeral. And so we did. And I didn't know any better at the time. I didn't know, oh, wait, I can live. I can live. So that was a big epiphany that happened later. But through that journey, I did end up going to a health food store and getting some herbs to help me through that transition journey. And lo and behold, I got better. And it was a coincidence, but not really. It was probably more of a God wink that the lady was learning, the herbalist was learning about essential oils and aromatherapy. And she said, I just learned this today that somebody with IBS, you need antispasmodic oils. And I just learned about Roman chamomile today. Will you try it? And I'm like, absolutely. So she made me up a roll on and it calmed the cramps down. I mean, it was pretty significant of the results I got. So I started becoming more involved in learning more about the herbs and using them in aromatherapy and getting results. And I didn't realize it until she told me, you have a business already, right? Because I would go into the shop often and people would see me, regular customers would see me and wonder, what are you doing? Because you looked horrible and you're starting to look a little bit better. So what's going on? And I would tell them, I'm doing this stuff called essential oils and aromatherapy and making blends. And they're like, well, you make me something. Well, what do you want me to make you? And they would tell me, I have a headache or I have eczema or I have a cold or I have allergies. And I would just research and learn. And at the time, the internet wasn't what it is now. So we had to do old school. And I just learned and I found a passion for that. And I found I had gifts for that. And through that journey, I healed. I healed myself. I was able to use the education with anatomy and physiology, my degrees in psychology. I was able to pull all that in and to, really just how can I fix me? I'm broken. Let me shift my mindset and figure out if I'm broken. And I kept saying some molecular structure had changed in my body. Let me figure out what that is. And then God puts in my life this herbalist who happened to know and was best friends with a rocket scientist from NASA who did blood chemistry, whose specialty was in molecular changes. And I right? So I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is," and so coming from being an insurance underwriter, 2 pots of coffee a day, fast food, breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day, although I did a salad from McDonald's once a week and thought I was healthy. Um, Through that journey, and I started learning this, my very first class was on biochemical blood analysis, a holistic approach. And so, not the first class I recommend if you're just getting into natural health. But I did learn. I started learning more about how do plants work, how do plant medicine work, how do herbs work, how does aromatherapy work, and what's this power of scent. I was drawn to scent, and that's my specialty. And that's what lights me up. And that's my passion. And that's been my mission, is to be a guiding light, because on my journey, I was fortunate to have the right people with the right tools and me being open and receptive to receiving them and using them. That was a big key. But other people weren't. And some people that I met in the doctor's office, that I met in the hospital, they didn't make it. And I still pray for them. I had a guiding light, and I want to be that hope and that light for somebody else, to say you can choose life, you can choose health, you can choose, as long as you're open and receptive to that. And I want to provide those tools. And that's my gift, and that's my passion, and I'm fortunate to still be doing this. My company officially formed in 2002. So all these years later, 22, 23 years later, I'm still doing what I love, and, making a difference, and still passionate about it.
So you started this passion project of yours that blossomed into your passion. I started dancing around the same time. And I love the fact that your journey of healing, you're walking proof of it. You're walking proof of it. And for me, I'm also living proof of it at the same time. And I'm so grateful we're both here. So audience, if you're watching or listening to this, this is a message to you from the universe. We're both just conduits right now, letting you know there's more than one way to heal, and the best way is to use them all. Like just get used to
Yes.
all the tools, right? Because when we dance, we're lighting up every part of the brain. When you use sense, you are channeling methods to self heal that mundane, we muggles people don't usually have access. And here Jennifer is saying there's a way for you to get access to the science.
And I love that, because it's an integrative approach, and I learned on my journey, and why I've been so good at what I do is because it is an integrative approach. And where I'm at in this part of my journey is honoring my gifts of deep emotional healing through, scent triggered memories and emotions, and navigating that journey and understanding yourself so much better, and teaching you how to love yourself. But when you smell, your sense of smell is so powerful. It's your only sense. It has no judgment. So when you smell, it activates and calibrates you to a different frequency. When you add in movement to that, you're building neurons. You're still working on some similar pathways, but the emergence of adding in scent with the dance moves reinforces that recalibration of your energy, right? So we might be stuck, and we might have all these emotions and heaviness, and we need hope, and we need courage, and we need confidence and motivation. And when you move, it helps you get unstuck. When you add in specific essential oils that are fluid movers to help you get unstuck, it reinforces that. And so it makes it so much stronger. There's a power of one, but there's a power of many, right? You don't have to do it alone. And if you bring in all these different facets, even adding in hydration, and adding in proper nutrition, and adding in herbs, and adding in laughter, putting it all together to create something for you is so much more profound. And you're going to get more deep healing from doing that. And I love that you add in dance because you've got to move. Emotions are emotions, they're energy and motion. Dance allows us to move our energy. And so keeping that energetic movement, then you're always moving forward. You're always able to stay aware and present and connected to who you are and take that step forward as yourself. And it's just so powerful, and it's much needed in the healing journey wherever you are, whether you're in the beginning, the middle, and an expert, and hey, I've been here for a long time healing. We're all healing. We're all going to be students of healing forever. But hopefully you're going to be able to take away some encouragement today and some tips that you can implement in your life that is going to be exactly what you need to hear. As Jenny said, the universe is giving you this message, and let me add in scent to what I'm doing right now. And just even that little bit of recalibration is going to be so powerful.
So there, it's really interesting that you're downloading this truth to the audience, and literally, I have people banging over my head. My cat just jumped through and knocked all my papers to the floor. I think it's really interesting. I just had an interview earlier today where we were talking about, I had a download. We have that saying, oh, it takes a village to raise a child, right? And my thing is, it takes a village to heal a woman. And men too, and unfortunately, all the cultures across the world globally expect the woman to be everything. We're everything, and we're not expected to ask anything in return. Like, we're just here to give and give and give. And this past year, I've had download upon download that it's more than giving from, you can't give from an empty well. It's more than that. For me, right? Initially I got a download that it's just that our wells, the bottoms of our wells aren't even closed. We have cracked wells. So unless you heal the bottom of that well, you can't fill. And then there were certain, you see all these videos about, oh, fill the well. If the well is full of dirty water, you have to keep pouring in clean water until you can have clean water. And I was like, yeah, my well has cracked walls. Forget about the cracked bottom. Most of us, no one tells us it's not just the bottom of the wall that has to be repaired. Structurally, we're not sound. And we have to take that time. Otherwise, you're not fully helping people. You want to come from a centered place. You've done the work, Jennifer. I've done the work, and it still took working until the last, I would say, maybe 2 or 3 years that I finally understood not to serve for safety. That's the biggest thing.
I think, one of the things that I've really picked up on in myself lately is I find, being a chronic people pleaser,
Yeah.
because of that generation of caregivers, give, 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 give. The thing that I pick up on is now before I commit to something or I take an action, I do pause, which I never used to do. It was just an automatic instant yes, 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 yes. But now I pause to say, how is this going to fill my tank? And that was tough for me because I thought that was being selfish. But if it doesn't fill my tank, then it's not going to fill the tank that I'm giving to. And in my holistic world, there's people say, how long is it going to take to heal? Well, 4 months plus 1 month for every year that it's been going on, because you've got to assess and recognize and stop the problem or the culprits, and then you have to make repairs, and then you have to rebuild, and then you reinforce.
All while
And
life is getting lifey.
yes. And, even today, I had some unexpected, family situations that came up today, and really was tough. And I had to say, okay, I can't, I'm in reactive mode. This is not healthy. Let me stop. It's okay to take a break. It's okay to pause. It's okay to say no. Give me a moment. Give me a moment. and to kind of reassess and take inventory of where you are. And I think I'm realizing that's a huge key. We miss the assessment. We go right into action, but we miss the assessment phase, assessing what do I need? What do they need? Because I might be giving and pouncing with what they don't need, because now I'm giving from an exhausted heart, panicked heart, a heart that's like, I just listen, I'm too busy. I got to check you off my list. I'm just going to give you what you're going to take, whatever I give you. That's not healthy. And that's the shift that I make in my healing. That's the shift that I love. The scents bring to our awareness. When you smell a scent and you take a moment to connect with that scent, and we'll do it right now. You take a scent and you smell it and you connect to it, and you think about, on a scale of 1 to 10, because we want to catch before judgment sets in, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being, ooh, gross, no way, 10 being, oh my gosh, I love it. Where does that scent fall? And then you want to assess what thoughts and emotions just came to mind. How is that making me feel? And where do I feel it in the body? Because if you're feeling it in the throat and it's making you feel sad, you're sad because you're not speaking up for yourself, or you've silenced yourself, you've lost your voice. And the scents help us to remember this process of assessment. It's the biggest missing link that I see in most healing, is that we forget to recognize and assess, what do we need? What do they need?
I applaud this approach. I am so excited that you are breaking free of any wanting to hide at all. We need to be blasting this message out to the world. Seriously, Jennifer, oh my God.
Yes.
I there is a reason why across the board, besides the IG algorithms, I'm seeing everyone talking about tune into your five senses, because it's a unifier, and we usually often neglect smell unless we're hungry, and it has to be more prevalent. I actually have always used essential oils, and I'm very drawn to bergamot and rose. So the two unconditional smells that I always use. And I'm gonna have to hire you for my mom, who just had a bad fall, and she has Crohn's disease, and she has a plethora of other unresolved. She's doing her best poverty traumas from when she was very young. I would say anybody who's ever immigrated to the States from a country where you grew up impoverished, that's already trauma, whether or not you're aware of it. We need to be healing people on that level, that deep, deep level. Or anyone here in this country who's grown up below the poverty line, because we have a lot of those. We're all overachieving, trying to let go, right, of those generations of poverty that's there. And then for me, then we had to stop doing the essential oil scents, because we realized it was dangerous to the fur on our cats because they were licking it. And that was something we were told to stop. So then I just started using those a little case of it, and I would smell it. It's not the same because, right, I really do enjoy having the scent
It's
permeate.
a safe way to diffuse it into the air, but you're right. You do have to be careful about, ingestion of that, especially with animals.
Right, right. So, and then I don't want to forget, because we're about halfway into the interview, folks. The best way to avail yourself of Jennifer's expertise is she has a free gift. It's under the download free Declutter Your Mind guide. However, I really, really want you to explore Jen's website. It is at Jen Sense. Now that's two N's, JENNSCENTS.com. They'll be in the descriptor. And I know most of you are listening to the podcast while you're driving. Go back to the descriptor. It'll be in the description. And make sure you look up Jennifer, and you can scroll through all of the options, and you can get her free download to declutter your mind. Because here's the thing, all of us globally, have survived the panini, I call it the panini COVID lockdown, because people are in different opinions about whether or not it's over or not, right? And it is what it is.
Yeah.
I'm immunocompromised from having had cancer. My son has type 1, and we're all really can't get COVID or any type of flu-like thing in that region, so we take precautions. But I call it the panini, right? And we're all survivors of that lockdown. So whether or not you feel that you're suffering, subconsciously you're carrying some cobwebs and you want to declutter your mind so you get present. Big shifts are happening and we want you to be a part of that healing shift.
That is an assessment. So I'm actually practicing what I preach, and I'm teaching you how to get connected and how to do an assessment by doing that declutter. You first have to recognize what's going on, but then I'm going to help you make those connections between the emotional side of it to the physical. Any physical things going on, there's an emotional counterpart and vice versa. And when you learn how to understand the body's language and the smoke signals and the symptoms it's giving you, then you're going to better recognize, what's going on. So already from the two oils that are your favorite, I already know what a deep seated, I won't reveal it unless you want
Oh
me
no,
to, but
go for it, Jennifer. Audience member, I'm an open book. Let's go. Why am I
so
drawn to
with
bergamot, which is an antidepressant, by the way, I know that, and
yes.
rose, which is healing, because I like rose quartz. Go ahead, I'm ready. I'm an open book.
And
Let's go.
and I'm also an intuitive healer too. It's a gift that I picked up on that I've always had since a child, but being on the holistic healing journey, I was able to implement that into what I do and do, and that's some of what I do, intuitive scent readings. But with bergamot and rose being your favorites and having the intuition coming in, the intuitive guides coming in, it's really with deep-seated grief. And if we explored a little bit more, we would find out, if you have more right-sided issues or do you have more left-sided issues? Because left-sided issues are related to female energy in your life, and right-sided is related to more male energy in your life. And sometimes it's from our first generation, us and our parents, but sometimes it's generational, it's in our DNA, and it can go back many. It used to be, science used to say it goes back 7 generations. It's much further than that. And the healing that I do, we go way back generationally. And so it's about that generational healing and helping our, DNA. My puppy's crying in the background. I don't know if you can hear her.
I can't. It's so
Okay,
funny,
that's
right?
good.
She agrees. She agrees. This generational
She
trauma,
agrees. She's like,
everyone.
yes, yes, tell her. So it's powerful when you make these connections, and then in that declutter holistic guide that I'm giving you to declutter your mind, I'm going to give you the key, the answer key to say, okay, here's the questions I want you to ask yourself, but here are the answers, and then this is how you can customize an approach, because I'm a really big believer in personalized health, not just a cookie cutter approach. And I certainly have a cookie cutter kind of template that I work from, but then I customize that through the scents, through herbal programs to get you exactly what you need where you are right now. And we have to be good about that. And when you have a good assessment in the beginning and you're honest in the assessment in the beginning, then it's going to, you're going to have much deeper, more profound results from that.
I love that. I was a part of a really cool decluttering program that was addressing the relation of clutter to trauma from the past. And they had us do
Yes.
everyone did the same scent from doTERRA, some type of clearing scent. And I noticed that I actually didn't like the smell. So then I would start putting off the clearing because I didn't want to smell the smell that you're supposed to smell to get you in the mood to declutter. Because I was like, no, I don't really like it, so I'm just gonna postpone it, and then I wouldn't do it.
Well, you have to have an entry point. And because you don't like it, what was happening is that scent or that blend was coming into and it's saying, hey, Jenny, I just knocked on this rock and I found something underneath it that you need to heal. And you're like, whoa, that's fine. I'm not ready to do it right now. And so I'm a real big believer in the healing process. You have to find your entry point, whether you're using scent as an anchor, right? You can use the same scent. Maybe bergamot's your go-to every single time you need to go back to this moment of calmness. But then we can bring in some other scents to take you on this journey of healing. And that's part of what I do is with the scent readings is, we'll go through a lot of different oils and we'll find out what each one is bringing to the table. Not liking the scent just means you're not ready yet. And
Mm.
don't force it. don't force it, because it's just human nature. You're going to be rebellious and you're going to be defensive. Your wall goes up and then there's no healing. So we keep going till we find the one that lights you up, right? So it's like having a conversation with somebody and you don't want to answer questions, but eventually you're going to get to that one question where, blah, it just all comes out. For me, it's when you ask me, talk about aromatherapy and talk about the benefits of oils, okay, it lights me up, but if you bring me into other conversations or other topics, I might not be, ready for that yet. So, the oils are like people. It's like having a conversation with a person who's going to help you find that light. And, you were talking about your well being cracked. Well, there's a beauty in cracked wells because the light comes through. That's how the light shines through when it shows us all this character that we've built. It shows us where we've been, where we are, and inspires us of where we can go from here. That's what inspires the hope and the motivation to keep going and to keep dreaming, and dreaming into action. So, we want to honor that. But, picking those scents are important. So I would say if there's a scent that comes up, it's not the one that's going to declutter you right now. We've got to find that entry point that is going to light you up and open the doors wide open. And then we can start taking steps in that healing process.
Okay, so I have a question for you. When you do an assessment, so the audience knows what it entails, right? Because we're online. Would I have to fly out to you? Would you come to me? Do you send me a kit? How does that work?
Yeah, I have done live scent readings, and I call it olfactory sensory testing. I line my oils up and you'll smell them. And I have built my business doing that with a aromatherapy custom blending bar. You come to my bar, you smell, I make you a blend. But since COVID, I have done more. I really expanded and really dove into my intuitive side. So now I do intuitive readings. So I just have my line of oils and I'll do an example with you now. So I have an oil, you don't know what it is, but on a scale of 1 to 10, what's the first number that pops into your head?
A 3.
Okay. And what's the first thought, memory, emotion that just popped in your head like that? Where did that take you?
Oh, I got some pressure in my chest.
Okay. So you're feeling it in your chest. And what does that feel like? What emotion does that feel like?
Sadness.
Yeah. So we hold grief in the lungs.
Mm.
So now another thing in healing is 3 points make a straight line. Knowing that you like bergamot and rose for grief, and now you're telling me this oil is connecting in your grief center, I know that we're tapping into some grief to heal some grief
Mm.
there. So that is what that's telling me. And this oil is peppermint. Now, what I do is I translate. Each oil has its own personality.
Yeah.
And peppermint has an extroverted personality. It helps us take in new ideas. It helps us breathe. But think about it. Peppermint is really closely associated with digestion, but digestion of a situation, digestion of a past event, digestion of a trauma.
Mm.
It's also good for nausea. Nausea is whenever, something makes us sick to our stomach, right? So we don't want to think about it. I don't want to deal with those emotions. I don't want to do it. I'm going to keep suppressing it, but suppressing that grief. And so what peppermint is doing is saying, I see you. I feel you. I hear you. I love you without judgment. All of your oils are unconditional love and kindness without judgment. And that's the work that I do. Is there's no judgment, there's no right or wrong answer, because it's just a journey and we just translate the messages that come in. So for peppermint to come in, it's saying, you know what, it's okay to breathe. And you might be doing what we call a suppressed grief, a silent grief. You're holding it in, you keep pressing it down. Peppermint being an extrovert, it's that one that comes into the party and says, hey, y'all, I'm here. Let's get the party started. It's very flamboyant, but it also reminds you to use your voice, use your light, be loud, be bold. It's okay. And so when we're working on it for grief, then it's telling me it's going to help you have a vented grief.
Mm.
You might need to go outside and just scream. You might need to yell loud. You might need to go to a rock concert and just sing your heart out. You might need to do a punching bag, something physical. Your dance moves might be more intentional. And instead of just flowy, which I know you're real good about the flow, you might have a different kind of interpretive dance that's going to help you release. And so diffusing peppermint or even smelling it before you do these moves, you might notice, and you might want a video, does your flow turn into like a punch or a sharp? Because that's a release. And so peppermint's coming in to say, I'm going to help you. Now, it was a 3, and 3 is on the lower end of the scale. So it tells me that you're not quite ready. You're hearing me and you're like, yep, yep, yep. No, not going to do that. I hear you, but I'm not going to do it yet. You're not ready. So this is not your entry point oil, but we hold it because we will come back to it later. And maybe later on, and I do blends for my clients. It's not a one and done. It's a series. We use a blend and then we peel off this layer. When it doesn't smell good or do the same effect, then we know you've shifted. And now you're ready for the next layer. You're ready for another scent to work on the next layer. That's the healing, releasing those fabrics of healing.
Jennifer, I have a question for you. So that first scent that you picked, was it random or you chose it when you asked me what I was?
It was random. I picked it blindly. And that's how I do this work, is I just, whatever I gravitate to. I grabbed these oils. I don't know what they are. And the first one that I held was this one. This will be the next one. And then we just go on that process. And I don't look at the oil till I tell you what it is. When I reveal it to you, I just saw it.
It's like tarot scents.
It is. It is. It's like an intuitive reading, and I know the energy of the oil, but your body responses tell me a story.
Mm.
My training in aromatherapy, knowing the oils, knowing the personality, knowing their benefits, we're now a team. You tell me what's happening and we work together. But then I have intuitive guides that come in that help guide me a little bit more on whose grief is it? Where is it? And sometimes there's spirit attached to it that needs to come in and deliver a message, maybe from somebody who's passed, or some type of energy that needs to come in and tell you something to give you comfort. A lot of people say, oh, I always wondered, how that person felt. Maybe, I know when my grandfather passed, I was by his side and it was a very traumatic ending. And I always wondered certain things. And so I have a friend who does intuitive readings for me, and she brought me peace because, she was able to deliver a message to me. And I think that's part of our healing journey too, is to quench the curiosity that surrounds the trauma, the what ifs, whys. Sometimes it makes that intangible emotional cloud that we're in, it makes it more tangible. And that's when we really can have strides. We can take strides forward in the healing process.
So true. So true. So I have a follow-up question to that. I was listening very intently and then I forgot it, and they'll come back. So my question though is also regarding when you work with a client and you start this process, is there it just came back. Is there a point where you teach them how to intuitively get more intuitively stronger for themselves?
Yeah, and that's really the premise of my company. I'm really big in helping you heal, but in the educational and skill development part too. So I have my store and my services where, I do these scent readings, I create the blends, I create custom blends, all my product line. But then I have a school where I teach you the same. I learned it for me, and thank goodness somebody shared that education with me. And so I learned from some of the most extraordinary people God put in my life. And I was able to create my style and my way of healing that I have documented. And that was one of the programs that I launched this past year, was teaching you to be an aromatherapy intuitive guide. And so, certifying you in aromatherapy, but then also teaching you how to do this. So whether you want to heal for yourself, and sometimes you have to lead by example, start with yourself. And then when you're ready and you're realizing, oh my gosh, this is too amazing. I can't keep it all to myself. Then I teach you all of, the ins and the outs. And I bring in the holistic side. I bring in the pathophysiology side. So I do have a lot of nurses that I train who are oncologists, who are at VA hospitals. And so I think it's really important to have this knowledge for our personal healing, but then also learn it to help others heal. And that's my motto is, helping you heal deeply to live fully, through the power of aromatherapy, because that's, we were talking about senses earlier, and you're right, most people would mark off if they had to lose one of their senses, scent would be the first one they would not do until COVID. And when people lost their sense of smell and mental health decline doubled, right, the declination of mental health doubled, and people really, they felt more lonely, they felt more abandoned, disconnected. Your sense of smell teaches you how to taste, and so that's why taste is off.
Yep.
And that happens a lot when you go through, cancers and diseases and dementias. There's an escalation there. And so people are realizing the power of scent. Like I said earlier, it's your only scent that goes straight to the hypothalamus, meaning there's no interference, there's no interjection, there's no judgment. All of your other senses have to go through the thalamus to be processed and go through something. That's why it takes longer. But scent, less than a third of a blink of an eye. So fast.
It's one of the things you smell before you see, hear, touch, feel.
Yeah,
It's one of our first sense. It's taken for
it
granted, isn't it,
is.
Jennifer? It's so taken.
It is.
All right, audience members, you got to stop taking your scent for granted. Make sure you
Yes.
go to gen2nsense.com. And then here's the thing. I always, all right, so year 2025, Jenny's going to do a real talk, folks. Here's the thing. If your mind is going, this isn't, it's a little bit too woo for me, or what do you mean dancing? I don't dance. I need you to check in with your body, because your mind may have already made decisions that are not in the best interest of your body. And it's not Jennifer's and Jenny's place to tell you to do this. We feel strongly everyone should do what we do. And I am no longer in the position where all of my past healers, Jennifer, would test for me. They'd be like, I'm like, look, you need to muscle test and figure out if this is for you. You figure out your yes, you figure out your no, and you go, hey, should I check out gensense.com? Should I go to Jenny's movetobloom.com and access her free classes for myofascial release and stretching and some dance classes? That's 2025 for me, Jennifer. I'm like, I don't need to convince you nothing. You need to do a muscle test. Does this work for you? Then join us. If it doesn't work for you, refer us. Spread the
And
word.
it's about education, and I don't make anybody's decision. My job is just to share what I know to be true, and I know it to be true from personal experience, but also the thousands of clients that I have helped over the past 20 plus years. This is what I know to be true, but you need to know it to be true for you. And I do muscle testing, and that's the other thing. I do a lot of muscle testing in the intuitive readings with that. So I agree, it's a choice. And I love that we get to partner and we get to integrate the scented dance to help others heal. That's so important. And I hope whoever's listening that you choose, move your body, move your nose. It's so powerful and it's so healing.
Oh, yeah. And if you think about it, folks, most of us are getting sick through your nasal passages. So we're literally asking you to consider this methodology to stay healthy. Whatever your stance on the panini, flus, how one builds the immune system, most of us are getting sick through exposure through your nostrils, not necessarily your ears, not your mouth. It's actually through your nose, right?
There was a scientific study done a couple years ago that showed the root of how viruses enter the body is through the olfactory bulb. So we have science to back that up. Yeah.
Yeah, and olfactory bulb, folks, is in your nose.
Yes.
It's in your nose. Like the nose knows how
Yeah.
to keep you healthy. And we're literally asking you to consider that right now and be like, be proactive in health. Because being reactive, oftentimes, it's too late, folks. It's too late. I got breast cancer, and I was lucky we had the means to heal me through our health insurance. Right now, in my dance world, many GoFundMe's are being launched because their healthcare does not cover the extended care of cancer or some autoimmune disease or some other thing that comes up. And Jennifer and I are part of the movement of giving you tools for you to heal yourself. Jennifer, is there any one last thing you wanted to share? We're gonna have to have you come back because I sense collaborations in the future between us. And what's one thing you would leave them with until you come back next time?
To really just lean into yourself. I know that we are in such a busy society and we have so many things that we have to do, but the number one thing on your list every morning should be a check in with yourself. Check in, just close your eyes, feel in your body. Where do I feel the biggest pressure? Where do I feel the biggest pains? And just feel your feet planted on the ground and just roots coming out and just really grounding you and being aware of your body, and then go to the mind and say, what are my thoughts today? What thoughts do I want to lead with today? This is the mind body connection. But if you begin every morning with a self assessment, it takes less than 60 seconds to do that. And you just perform self care. You just did self care.
Thank you. Thank you, Jennifer. We want you to put yourself first so that you can genuinely be there for your loved ones and also to step into your purpose. 2025, I want everyone to start stepping into your purpose. And here's the thing, I'm going to leave you on this note, audience, before we say goodbye to this wonderful guest, Jennifer. Are you ready for this real talk? Jenny's not going to be afraid of your reaction. Where you are today is because you chose it. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Dance to Heal with Jenny C. Cohen. Come back next time to hear stories of recovery through movement and learn more ways that you can move your body. To work with me and continue your journey, visit OutsideInRecovery.com. Are you ready to move?